What's good everyone, and welcome back to EPG-Every Platform Gamer, the channel where we cover gaming news across PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo, PC, all of it. This week has been another eventful one, so let's get into it. Extraction shooters have always scared me a little. I've played shooters before, I've played looter games, I've even played competitive multiplayer, but extraction shooters, those are different. They're slower, tenser, punishing. Every mistake feels permanent and every win feels earned. So when Bungie announced Marathon, their return to one of their oldest franchises reimagined as a modern extraction shooter, I knew two things. This game was not designed for someone like me. That's exactly why I wanted to learn it. This video is my journey learning how to play Marathon, what makes extraction shooters so intimidating, why new players may struggle, and why Marathon, despite its beauty and ambition, might be Bungie's biggest risk yet. But before we talk about how Marathon plays, we need to talk about where it came from. Before Halo, before Destiny, before Bungie became synonymous with console shooters, there was Marathon. The original Marathon trilogy launched in the mid-1990s on the Mac, and it was weird in the best way possible. While other shooters focused on speed, spectacle, Marathon leaned into environmental storytelling, terminal-based lore, philosophical sci-fi themes, and artificial intelligence, identity, and rebellion. It was darker than Doom, slower than Quake, and way more cerebral than people expected from a shooter. Marathon wasn't just about shooting aliens, it was about reading, thinking, and questioning reality, and over time it became a cult classic. So when Bungie revived Marathon decades later, they weren't just rebooting a name, they were reviving a tone. But this time, they weren't making a traditional shooter. Bungie's history is the story of reinvention. They helped define console shooters with Halo, setting the standard for gun feel, enemy AI, and sandbox combat. They then pivoted again with Destiny, blending MMO systems, loot progression, and live service storytelling. Destiny taught Bungie how to build long-term progression, design gear ecosystems, balancing PvE and PvP communities. Marathon feels like the next evolution of that thinking. Instead of power fantasy, it's vulnerability. Instead of endless respawns, it's consequence. Instead of saving the universe, it's surviving it. If you've never played an extraction shooter, here's the core loot. You deploy into a map with limited gear, other players, AI enemies, and high value loot. Your goal isn't to win a match, it's to extract alive. If you die, you lose everything you brought in. You lose everything you picked up. Every run is a gamble. Extraction shooters reward knowledge over reflexes, positioning over aggression, patience over confidence, and that's where many new players struggle. There's no safe space, no warm-up mode that truly prepares you, no guarantee that your time investment will be rewarded, which brings us to Marathon specifically. My first hours in Marathon were rough. I didn't know when to fight, when to hide, and when to run. Every sound mattered, every door felt like a threat, every encounter was a risk assessment. Unlike traditional shooters, Marathon doesn't encourage constant combat. It encourages survival thinking. Questions you ask constantly: is this fight worth it? What am I risking? Can I afford to lose this gear? For new players, that mental load is exhausting, and without a PvE only mode, there's no pressure-free environment to learn these systems. You're thrown into the deep end with sharks. One of the biggest barriers for new players is Marathon's commitment to PvPvE. There is no mode where you can safely explore, learn maps without an ambush, practice combat without losing gear to other players. For veterans, this tension is the point. For newcomers, it can feel really hostile. Extraction shooters don't just test skill, they test emotional resilience. Losing progress hurts. Repeated losses discourage experimentation, and without a safe learning space, many players may never push past that initial wall. Marathon asks a lot from its audience. Marathon's gameplay is deliberately restrained. You're not overpowered. Weapons feel lethal but grounded. Movement is purposeful, not flashy. Bungie's signature gunplay is still here, but it's filtered through fear. Every reload matters. Every heal costs time. Every mistake echoes. This isn't about domination, it's about decision making under pressure. Marathon is stunning. The art direction blends retro futurism with stark sci-fi architecture, neon UI elements and clean silhouettes. It's minimal, readable and stylish. The worlds feel alien without being chaotic. The UI feels clinical, almost oppressive. Everything reinforces the idea that you're a disposable runner in a hostile system. Marathon doesn't tell its story loudly, it whispers. Lore is found in environments and audio, context and absence, just like the original games. Marathon trusts players to piece things together. It's not about heroes, it's about systems, corporations and control, identity and survival within something much larger than you are. The music is subtle but powerful, electronic, atmospheric and unsettling. Silence is used as much as sound, footsteps and gunshots. Distant combat audio isn't just mood, it's information. Sound design becomes a survival tool. Marathon isn't friendly. It doesn't hold your hand. It doesn't protect your time. It doesn't care if you're new, but if you stick with it, you'll learn to slow down. You'll learn to read situations. You'll learn that survival is a skill. This journey taught me that extraction shooters aren't about winning. They're about enduring. And Marathon is Bungie asking us, how much tension are you willing to live with just to make it out alive? Thanks for joining us on another video. Stick with us as we plan to stick with Marathon. Join us as we grow, learn to explore effectively when to run and when to fight. Marathon is one of the greatest FPS games made by a studio that has FPS perfection in its DNA. But can the game keep our attention? And will gamers be able to look past its high skill gap? And will the developers keep giving us enough content and dopamine hits to ensure we keep returning again and again? This is EPG Every Platform Gamer. Like, share, follow and comment below. Are you enjoying Marathon, or do you feel it's not up to scratch and worthy of Bungie's legacy? Fancy playing together and completing some runs? Reach out, as we would love to team up with some fellow runners. And remember, game anywhere and everywhere.